This video contains graphic depictions of 3 fatal shark attacks, with one being the most brutal attack in history. Be advised, this is going to get bloody. Sharks, the ocean's apex predators, have long inspired human fear and fascination. With their razor-sharp teeth and powerful bodies, these supreme predators can instill fear into the souls of even the most experienced swimmers. This video will examine 3 horrifying shark attacks where the victims were attacked, ripped apart, and even eaten in some of the most horrific circumstances ever witnessed. Let's jump right in with a savage shark attack in Perth, Australia. Ken Crew was a real-life hero. Crew was an avid swimmer and had saved a few people from drowning. Crew belonged to an amateur swimming club for middle-aged men called The Pod that swam together every morning on Cottesloe Beach in Perth, Western Australia. Ken, 49 at the time, was a strong and able swimmer who enjoyed his morning ocean splash before getting down to the grind of owning his own business in Mossman Park. On Monday, November 6, 2000, Ken and his wife Robin drove to Cottesloe Beach. Robin would walk along the beach as Ken indulged in his boys' club swim in the mornings and meet each other after at the Barchetta Cafe for coffee. This cold and cloudy morning would be very different though. Ken and Robin went their separate ways on the beach as Ken joined the pod and swam out into the chilly Indian Ocean water. Crew was directly in front of the Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club, 30 meters out to sea, returning from his swim when every ocean swimmer's worst fear became a reality. He and more than a dozen pod members were making their way to the shore when suddenly someone yelled, "Shark! Get out of the water!" Swimmers fled toward the safety of the shoreline. From the balcony, I could see this huge shark. "It was really huge," said Kim Gamble, a witness. "When we saw the fin and the tail, people thought it was 2 sharks, it was so big." But for Crew, the warning came too late. Horrified onlookers from Crew's swimming club, people on the beach, and cafe customers watched as the massive fin circled Crew. No doubt Crew was in an absolute state of panic and was waving his arms frantically. This was when the enormous shark went in for the kill. Biting Ken on the torso as a test bite, the shark let go, circled, and attacked again. This bite would be a full-blown bite, aimed at causing maximum damage to the bleeding victim. With one bone-crushing bite, the waters around him turned blood red. Kim Gamble said, "There was a whole sea of blood. The shark was really huge and frenzied. The colossal shark wasn't finished just yet." Next, it turned its predatory aggression to the person in front of Crew. Dirk Avery, Crew's friend, was a little closer to the shore than Crew, and when he realized what was happening, he went straight into defensive mode. Seeing the telltale fin slicing through the choppy water, Avery knew he was in for the fight of his life. As the shark opened its mouth to take a chunk out of Avery, he did the only thing you can do in a shark attack: kick as hard as you can. Avery kicked for dear life, but unfortunately, one of those kicks landed right into the savage jaws of the shark. Luckily, he managed to pull his foot out, but not before sustaining significant damage that would require 75 stitches and multiple skin grafts in the coming years. Avery's fighting spirit and survival instinct saved his life, as did the brave onlookers on the beach. Be it sheer adrenaline or insanity, members of the pod raced into the sea to confront the massive creature and try to get Crew to the safety of the beach. Fearless and unrelenting, the men tried to fight the shark off. Father Morrison, a Catholic priest and member of the pod, explained what he saw, saying, "I was in the cafe and heard the shout 'shark attack.' I looked up and saw a very large fin and a man with flailing arms. I raced to the beach and noticed a huge number of people gathered. Some went out into the water. 2 in particular tried to push the shark away, while others took hold of Ken, and brought him to the shore. John Sims was one of these men and should be commended for his bravery. Sims helped a surf lifesaver paddle a wave ski out to Crew and dragged him to shore. Crew's leg had been severed high up on the thigh, destroying his femoral artery, which is, in most cases, a death sentence for anyone not attended to at once. As Father Morrison recounts, Ken Crew's last moments on Earth on the bloody beach were genuinely tragic. In a matter of seconds, the shark had disappeared, and all we could do was bring Ken onto the beach. We worked furiously with 2 doctors, but there was no way Ken could have survived. I whispered into his ear, "Kenny, if you can hear me, I'm going to give you the blessings of the church, so squeeze my hand." He squeezed my hand twice, and I think it was just after that point that he passed away. Shark Attack 2. The islands of the Bahamas are a tropical paradise and one of the world's top vacation destinations. This tropical archipelago is unique for several reasons, including the island's beauty, weather, pure white sand beaches, turquoise waters, and swimming pigs. Our next shark attack occurs in this paradise that turned into hell for 21-year-old Jordan Lindsay and her family. Jordan Lindsay, a 21-year-old Loyola Marymount University student from Torrance, California, and her parents, 2 brothers and girlfriend, were vacationing in the idyllic Ocean Islands. In hindsight, a quick decision would change all their lives forever. After a typical day of holiday activities, the family decided to take a last-minute excursion with the Sandy Toes Tour Company to Rose Island. Rose Island is just one of the many Bahamian spots famous for snorkeling and petting swimming pigs. The charter was packed, but as Lindsay's father Michael would later say, "I wish they didn't let us on, of course, but they snuck us on." When they reached the island, the family split up into 2 groups. Myself, my 2 boys, and Jordan's girlfriend, Gianna, were on another part of the island, just swimming on the beachside, he recalled. My wife, Cammie, and Jordan went snorkeling on another part of the island. My wife was near Jordan, a few feet away, Michael would later say. 45 minutes into their snorkel, the waters would turn into a gruesome, bloody nightmare. Cammie said she heard Jordan yell, "Mom," and then Cammie looked back. And the first thing was, she thought dolphins were around Jordan. Jordan was surrounded by 3 massive tiger sharks. Jordan's yelling became louder and evolved into a scream of pain. Blood stained the water red as Cammie frantically tried to reach her daughter. Cammie grabbed her daughter and bravely punched the shark closest to her. Shock reeled through Cammie's body as she realized that one of the sharks had torn her daughter's arm off. Cammie was trying to pull her daughter towards safety when Jordan faintly murmured, "Mom, another shark is coming." And then, the second shark hit her on her lower leg. This was the last thing that Jordan would say. After a grueling struggle to retrieve Jordan from the water, she was dragged to a nearby island, where they waited for a boat that could take them to the mainland for medical assistance. Only then did they see the severity of the attack. The sharks had severed Jordan's right arm and had bites on her left arm, both legs, and buttocks. Jordan was losing consciousness and scarcely clinging to life when the boat arrived. A boat with no medical supplies. They put towels over her leg. There was no first aid, Jordan's dad said. Jordan was hurried to a port where an ambulance was waiting, but it was too late by the time she arrived at the hospital. "I walked in," Jordan's father recalled, "and they said, 'Your daughter's gone.'" Shark attacks on humans are uncommon, as most shark species don't consider humans prey. However, sharks may attack humans for a variety of reasons. Some sharks may confuse humans for seals or other marine animals that they usually prey on. Sharks may also attack if they feel threatened or perceive a human invading their territory. Sharks also attack out of curiosity or to defend themselves if they feel cornered or threatened. Most times, unlike in the movies, victims have no idea that a shark is close before they get hit. Humans can sustain catastrophic injuries from shark attacks. The most frequent injuries are lacerations or puncture wounds caused by the shark's serrated teeth, which can result in significant blood loss. Shark attacks can sometimes result in instant amputations, particularly when a limb or extremity is targeted. While all sharks can attack humans, certain species are more likely to do it. The most significant number of reported attacks on people have been attributed to great white sharks. They account for most unprovoked shark attacks on humans, particularly in Australia, South Africa, and the United States. Tiger sharks are notorious for their aggression and account for the second highest number of unprovoked shark attacks on humans. They frequent temperate global waters, particularly the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Bull sharks are notorious for their aggression and account for the third highest number of unprovoked shark attacks on humans. They inhabit both saltwater and freshwater environments and are known to swim in rivers, estuaries, and other shallow bodies of water. Our last attack is possibly one of the most savage in known history. A scientist once remarked, "Studies show they respond strongly to the smell of seals and fish, but not humans. The trouble with sharks is that they are inquisitive, and when checking out a potential prey item, they typically come up and have a nibble." In layman's terms, sharks don't like eating human flesh. Our last attack is possibly one of the most savage in written history, and the opposite of what the scientists said. The savage attack on 33-year-old Shirley Ann Durden at Wiseman's Beach in Peak Bay, north of Port Lincoln, South Australia, is one of Australian history's most infamous shark attacks. Shirley and her family had moved from the rural village of Karku, an hour's drive inland from the coast, due to her husband Barry's debilitating farm-related allergies. However, on March 3, 1985, their fantasy move to the coastline turned into a nightmare. Shirley, her husband Barry, and Keith Coventry, a friend, had been scallop diving and were returning to the shore to rejoin their friends and their 4 children, aged 5 to 7, who were playing on the beach. Shirley screamed a death-curdling cry as Barry stood 10 meters away on a submerged boulder. When Keith turned around, he saw Shirley being launched high above the water's surface as a massive fin broke the surface. The shark violently thrashed in the water, still holding on to Shirley. Suddenly, the thrashing stopped, and the water turned blood red. Realizing she had been attacked, Keith grabbed Barry and held him, fighting to stop Barry from swimming out to his wife. The shark had ripped off both of her legs with its first bite. Next, the gigantic predator ripped off her head and arms. By now, onlookers on the beach had seen the bloodbath and alerted lifeguards. Boats were dispatched to the scene to recover what was left of Durden's body. As the boats neared the mangled torso, the gigantic shark breached and grabbed what was left of the unfortunate woman and dragged it down into the depths, leaving behind a frothy patch of blood on the water's surface. According to experts, this was the first time a shark had consumed an entire human in Australia. Kevin Wiseman, a retired fisherman perched on a cliff overlooking the harbour, witnessed the attack and identified the shark as a 6-meter-long white shark. Sharks, as we know them, are hundreds of millions of years old. Over this time, they have honed their killer instincts and predatory behavior to become apex killers. Next time you go for a dip, remember this video. It could save your life.